Hello and welcome to ACS Golf. As I mentioned last week, we're going to be reviewing today the JPX 825 Pros, and we're going to be putting them against my Mizuno MP20s MMCs, which are currently in the bag. And basically the idea is to see, can these 2013 clubs perform just as well as these 2019? With the idea, you can pick these up between 150 to 250 pounds on eBay. 250 pounds, they'll be in really good condition. 150 pounds, still playable, but maybe a bit banged up as they are forged. While if you're looking on secondhand websites for these, they're still going for £550. So can you save yourself £300, get on the golf course, have that Mizuno feel and have that performance that you want? So just to go into the Mizuno JPX. So the JPX line is a line that Mizuno's created basically for the higher handicappers out there in the mid-range who can't get on with the MPs, but basically still want that Mizuno feel and still want that Mizuno club in their bag. Now, nowadays you have the Mizuno JPX hot irons, which is their big chunky clubs, which is aimed at the higher handicappers, and then their forged line, which is the more nice looking, smaller, playable clubs, but still offer more forgiveness than your normal MP range. Back in 2013, it was just the JPX. So JPX 825 was a big chunky thing, which offered loads of forgiveness, went miles, and was aimed for that higher handicapper. And then you had the JPX 825 Pros, which was forged, grain flow forged, which Mizuno are renowned for, to get that lovely feeling of the club. And that was sort of aimed at the people who couldn't really get along with the MP at the time, which, let's be honest, back then were very thin, very butter knife sort of irons. Just going into some of the technology, this is why I have the 5 in my hand. So the cavity backs, from the 7 up to the 3 iron, you actually have a gap here where the cavity is. I will try and show you, but unfortunately, because of the black colouring of the iron, it's going to be very difficult. But there's a cavity here just at the top of the club. And then what they've done as well is they put a lot of weight here on the toe of the club as well, which helps forgiveness in case you hit the toe club. It's still going to come out well. So yeah, and it's grain forged, so you're going to get that lovely feeling. And then when you go to the 9 iron, the actual gap for the cavity actually disappears. And as you notice here, if you put both clubs up there, the heel weight there is actually smaller on the 9 iron. And this is the same from the 8 down to the pitching wedge and gap wedge. Now, the idea of it, that with your lower clubs, shorter staff, and they're easier to hit, so you don't need that much forgiveness that you would get in the 7 to 3 iron, where you do need a lot of forgiveness because it's a longer club, and odds on you're not going to be hitting it in the middle all the time, which I don't personally with my longer clubs at all. Always a bit of a roulette every now and again to see how they come out. So lovely club, grain forged. I still think, look at them. Beautiful looking clubs there. Really, you would, if I put that in my bag, you wouldn't be able to guess that was a 2013 club, nearly 10 years old. Don't get me wrong, the ones I got were £150, so they're very battered, but still lovely looking clubs. Very nice. Now, the heel of them, there you go, is actually relatively quite small, which you would expect because it is aimed for the middle sort of handicappers, but then high handicappers probably get on with this as well. And actually, to be honest, it's very similar to my MP20 MMCs. I'd say maybe it's a little bit thicker here on the Pro. Top line here, very thin, but a little bit more chunky than my MP20s there. But exactly what you want looking down on it. I can't lie, it's beautiful. If you do look down on the 5, you can see that little bit of cavity at the back, which personally for me, I don't like, but for someone who wants that forgiveness and wants that reassurance, it really does help. Now, strangely with these though, I was looking at the lofts. Now, the lofts of the pitching wedge is 45. My MP20s is actually 46. The 9 iron, they're the same, 41. But then after that, these are actually 1 degree weaker than my MP20s. So the 7 iron, for example, is 33, and the 7 iron on mine is 32, which is I'm quite surprised to find that out, to be honest. Because normally what a lot of these manufacturers do to offer forgiveness and to offer, you know, they say longest club ever, look, it goes miles, etc., is actually to de-loft the clubs. So, for example, if you see a Wilson Staff D9, which are fantastic for giving clubs, I mean, big chunky things as well. I think the 7 iron there is 27 degrees. That's mad. I mean, that's pretty much my 6 iron. So, of course, the thing's going to go further because lower loft, higher ball speed. But with these, they're actually one loft weaker, which I was quite surprised. And it'll be quite interesting to see how these perform out at the driving range. So I took the 5, the 7 and 9 to driving range to compare the data I received there to my MP20s. So yeah, so let's watch that now, and I'll talk to you about what I was experiencing while I was hitting them, and also how far they were going while I was hitting them as well. So here I am down at Silvermere Golf Course. I will say these figures are going to be slightly off from what I'd actually expect on a golf course, obviously using range balls. So, and Silvermere doesn't actually show you real gameplay as some courses do. So what I'd be expecting for my 9 iron would be around 130 total distance. I think on the course it's probably about 135, but for here, that's what I normally get with my MP20 MMCs. So performance wise, overall my 9 iron was flat carry 128 yards, total 130, ball speed 99, and a launch angle is 23. So exactly what my own MP20 would be doing. So very happy with the club. Dispersion of the balls was great as well. All fairly similar ball flight. So really gives you that confidence. So when you are 130 yards out, you can really get it onto that green. One thing I'd say, feeling, felt a little bit harder than my normal 9 iron would, but still lovely club. So now on to the 7 iron. Now, do not ask me why, but 7 irons are renowned to be the easiest club you can hit in the bag. For some reason today, I could not get this thing going. You'll see during this video, I actually walk back and I delete a couple of the scores because obviously that's not really reflecting the club. If I'm the one shanking it or topping it or whatever, that's solely down to my performance. Now, I was when I did sort of get it working, I only had a flat carry of 140, total 145 yards, ball speed 103, and launch angle 20 degrees. Now, that's actually a little bit lower than I would expect. I'd really want my 7 iron at Silvermere to be going about 150. That's what it normally does, and then on the course it's normally about 160. I did get a few up to that 150 mark, so you could say it was probably me on the day rather than the club itself. Same thing with the 9 iron. Feeling was good, but like I said, it was quite firm compared to my MP20s. But don't get me wrong, I felt a lot firmer clubs before. Punishment wise, wasn't that punished, to be honest. I think I did drop down, well, obviously the flat was 140, so it did drop down below 140 if I really mishit it, but I think, again, that's just solely down to me. Now, dispersion-wise, obviously, on the day, was not hitting it well, so the ball was all over the place, which I wouldn't really want for my 7 iron. I know it is a bit of a longer club than the 9, and obviously you do have that cavity back showing in this one, but still, I'd want my 7 iron quite relatively close together, really just to make sure that, you know, if I need that 160 distance in, or if I want to do it, then it works. Now, on to the 5 iron. I absolutely love this club, to be fair. Hit it really well, even though maybe the figures didn't perhaps show that. So the flat was 158, carry total 171, ball speed 114, and launch angle 17. I mean, on my really good hits, I got up to 172. Flat carry 182, total 119, ball speed and 17 degrees launch. Just generally very happy with it. I'm hitting my 5 iron better nowadays, so I would hopefully expect that 158 to be a bit higher total, but again, you know, the odd hit at the bottom, if I'd say came off the bottom of the face or the heel or the toe, I mean, to be honest, I wasn't punished that much. So happy with the performance of that 5 iron. I mean, the feel again was firmer than I would have on my own one, but I mean, when I had a miss hit, for example, normally with my MP20s, my hands are shaking and I know it. With this club, with a slight miss hit, I wouldn't say there was too much feedback, which is not necessarily good, but it felt all right. So, conclusion of the JPX 825s. As mentioned in the videos, I mean, they went exactly what I wanted them to do distance-wise. I mean, the 5-iron, as mentioned again, went 170, which at a range is exactly what I'd expect from my 5-iron. I mean, obviously on the course, when you're losing a better ball, it's probably about 180. But at the range, when you're losing one of the rocks that is there, 170 spot on. Got exactly the same with the 9-iron, what I'd expect, as I mentioned. And got, well, when I hit the 7-iron, as mentioned, as you saw, got the same performance there as well, which is surprising for a club that's actually 1 degree weaker. Now I was still able to get the same distance. Now, feel wise, they're still great feeling clubs. I will say my MP20s, MMCs, a lot, feel a lot better personally. But then they always are. I mean, even back in the days, the MPs were going to feel better than these. The whole point of these is to give you some of that feel, but with obviously some of that forgiveness as well. They're still a lovely feeling club. I mean, they're forged, so once you hit that in that sweet spot, it's just going to feel lovely. Punishment wise, to be fair, if you miss the sweet spot, it doesn't feel that bad. I mean, if you miss it on the MCCs, your hand can be shaky a little bit, but with these, it didn't feel that bad. It's just more dull, sort of a dull hit. And yeah, I mean, as mentioned numerous times in this video, I mean, they're good looking clubs. So if I was going out to buy a brand new set right now, I mean, you'd have to take into consideration, obviously, what state they're in. Like I mentioned, I know I got these for 150 and they're pretty banged up. A few spots as well on the shaft, which you don't really want. I mean, it's not going to forget. It's not going to alter the performance of the club. It's just something to keep an eye on, which necessarily you don't want to do. I mean, the shafts back then as well, true temper, dynamic golds, which are still going. So the shafts are lovely, but are they going to be the same as the 2019 club? No, the shaft's obviously going to be better than the 2019 club. But for the price of around 150, let's say ball marker of 200, I mean, it's worth it. If you're looking for a new set of irons, and you want a Mizuno, you don't want to go out and spend a lot of money. You still want that playability, but with forgiveness and some good looks. I say give them a go. JPX 825 Pros. Lovely clubs for what they are. Age really well. And go give them a try if you want to save yourself about 300 quid, 350 quid. So, thank you for watching the video. Now, just pause it there to go and get what we are going to review next week. So, shock horror. Something's changed in my bag. My first ever video, I did mention it happens quite a lot, which it probably shouldn't have, but something has changed. So, tune in next week and we shall discuss why this TSI2 3-wood has made it into my bag and what it's replaced. Now, if you like this video, do give it a like. Comment if you have ever played JPX Mizunos, or if you do play any Mizuno irons, which ones are your favourite. And please do subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.